The cool kid, you wear the latest fashions on top of all the trends. Or have you ever worried you were too much in the mainstream, always so generic, more normal than your friends? Well, we've devised a test to put to rest your fears. There's no need to panic if you lend us your ears. Tonight you can't sleep easy after all that you've heard, cause if you like the show, then you're probably a nerd. Oh, Canon, it's all. Canon with Tyler, Phil, and Boris. Oh, Canon, it's Canon, it's all in Canon.
It's Monday, and you know what that means. It's time for a new episode of the It's Canon podcast, the show where we talk about all things geek, the show where we talk about all things comics, all things movies, all things books, all things video games, and all things Lego and Star Wars and bottles of water, Swiss Army knives, whatever. We are the Swiss Army knife of podcasts. We're your hosts. I'm Boris, and this week I am joined by Phil.
Hello, everybody. I'm wearing pants.
Well, we wouldn't know if you were or weren't, and I don't want to test it. I don't want you to prove anything. You do you, Phil. You do you. You
it just shows
do
how hectic
you.
things have been in the run-up to this show. If I have pants on,
that's how it is.
Normally, it's pajama bottoms. And
look at that. What
thing.
Did you have to do something important today?
Oh well, you know, it's Star Wars time.
It is Star Wars time. Happy May the 1st. Getting closer and closer to May the 4th. May the 1st. Here we are. Man, what a weekend. I'm exhausted. I'll be 100% honest. I am exhausted. Absolutely spent. Last night was my first official episode of Sunday Night's Main Event, the flagship radio show. So I had to edit, write, produce, record, etc., etc., etc. Let me tell you this, and I always knew this. Like, I've done podcasts for a long time, right? And this is the first full-on radio show that I did completely on my own. Man, it took a lot of time to get 45 minutes of content.
Oof. Yeah, radio is not podcasting.
It's very different. It's a whole different beast, right? You have to be. There's a whole different set of rules when you're doing radio as opposed to podcasting. What we're doing right now, it could only work on talk radio, if at all.
Yeah, fair enough. We're like a morning show, but it's still too unstructured for that. You know what I mean? You have moments in morning shows where there's banter, but by and large, man, you've got like 45 seconds to do what you got to do. Intro the next song. You know,
you don't have a lot of time.
People like Fred and whatnot do it, to be honest, because we still get their personalities, and yet they have obligations to do on air.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find that balance, right? Of making sure that I hit the points that I need to hit, and letting Boris be Boris, right? That's the balance. That's the game that I'm trying to play right now, and it's going to take a few weeks for me to get used to, even the speed at which I need to read my copy, right? Like it's I'll get used to all this. First episode, everything kind of happened all suddenly, and there I am doing that. So there goes my Sundays officially.
Oh,
and I'm happy. Don't get me wrong.
No.
It is a dream come true. It is an absolute dream come true. But I'm busy, but I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be chatting all things geek with you. Super happy that we heard from our friend Tyler.
Yep. He's not dead. Yeah.
Yep. Tyler, get better. He's he's had it rough. He's had it rough. That's for damn sure.
Doing the battle, he's up and down, and more down than up. So I sincerely hope that you feel better soon, guy, and you get back to all aspects of your life in a more functional way.
Yep.
And a happy
Like
way.
I've told him, the microphone is always open for him when he's better. I know that he's the type of person, if he can't give it that 100%, he's most likely not to want to do it. He's that kind of guy. I respect that. But and like I told him today, right? Like, dude, when I don't hear from you, I get worried.
Yeah. Unlike me, I'll just mail it in.
Dude, I've been mailing in life for fucking 5 years.
So have we all. Like,
I know, right?
Honestly, I'm still shaking my head over the past 3 years or so and everything, because it's like, wow, there's been so much change and so much activity differences and work differences, and I shouldn't so much, but you do know how challenging it is. I'm sure everybody does out there. That
100%.
It's different strokes now, unless your job was one that you had to be going in. And thank you for doing that. I think you don't get enough thanks for that, but it's really fundamentally shifted a lot of outlook as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
So
agreed. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this new mic. Got this new mic last Thursday, got it Friday. Really ballsy of me to test and use a new mic for a whole project that I needed. Super important, just a radio show.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I like the way outside of a couple pops, and again, I'm still getting used to the distance, and this pop filter helps me so much regulate how far I am from the mic. But yeah, sorry if we're boring the shit out of people. It's been one of those weeks, and I think we're all kind of feeling this. Okay. Before you get with your stories, just answer me this one question.
Yep.
How are you feeling today, Phil?
I feel a little bit run over. But
and does it have anything to do with you waiting by your computer at midnight, logging onto certain websites?
And not OnlyFans
this time?
Yeah, it may have something to do with that, yes.
All right. So let's hear this. I knew that it was going to be a shit show, but oh my God. Is it? Okay, hold on. Can I just like summarize the experience that millions and millions of people had? 'Cause I don't even try. You know me. I don't even try this. But I feel like somehow Lego made Ticketmaster seem like a company that knows what it's doing and has its shit together.
Yeah, they made the Taylor Swift debacle look like a walk in the park. like it was enviable by comparison.
And I have to be honest, every tweet that you replied to that I saw, I fucking laughed. And it's not that I get joy in seeing so many consumers angry. It's the laughter of, what the fuck, Lego?
Yeah, well, to be fair, all right, a lot of people that I was replying to and agreeing with take Lego a little bit too seriously.
Oh, I know.
So first thing that all this has taught me recently is that I take Lego far too seriously, and I need to not. It's a toy. It's a children's toy. It's not an item that appreciates significantly in value, even though it may. You don't buy it to collect it in the sense that you're going to speculate on it. It's not a stock. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not a commodity as far as that goes. It's a toy. It's a collectible. It's affiliated with Star Wars. It should bring you happiness. It shouldn't be something that I go, oh, I need 6 of those sets because I want to sell them because I'm going to speculate on the fact that I think they're going to go up exponentially due to this character or that character. You don't know what Lucasfilm are going to do with the writing with Star Wars. You don't know how Lego's going to reissue sets. You don't know if Lego's going to attach that minifigure to a magazine next week and give it away for free with the magazine. You have no control over that as a fan. So, my simple recommendation, or my own recommendation to myself, is buy stuff for happiness. If I'm going to buy it, it should make me happy. And I think myself and a couple friends, my friend Lydia, we realized that we are not buying stuff to make us happy. We are buying stuff because of feeling like we need to buy it, or feeling compelled to be a completionist in the collection.
Yeah.
Or pursue something that we've never had interest in before, but yet we feel so strongly motivated to get. And that's a dangerous thing. But last night, like, to the point of everything, I saw a tweet by a guy that I follow, Jay Ong, who writes a blog and does other work in the Lego space. Really nice guy. I think he's an ambassador. I'm not sure. And he lives in Australia. And Australia is famous for getting short supply.
Yeah. Of everything.
Everybody kind of, of everything.
Everything needs to be imported. So they buy literally less than what they even think they need because they don't want to have anything left. And it's so expensive to import.
Yep. So what ended up happening is he posted up on Twitter. Midnight came and went. He didn't stay up. He went to buy his sets early in the morning. And there's one set in particular that Lego were having difficulty keeping up with. And we knew that this was a set that was going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
It is the Star Destroyer, the Grand Star Destroyer, the huge one from Empire Strikes Back, Super Star Destroyer. And the issue is that it's the first in a MIDI scale line that we speculate is coming, probably to replace the helmets. It's hitting in at about $69.99 American, $89.99 Canadian.
That's what she said. Sorry.
It is a sizable model for a MIDI scale. It's not mini, it's MIDI. It's up from mini and not a full scaled model. So it's got little greebly pieces and, no minifigs. It's not scale, anything like that. But this thing's about 1.5 feet long. Like, it's not something to sneeze at or 1 foot long.
Right.
It's a sizable model that'll look good on display. Elegant, right? It's simple and elegant for a toy. Anyhow, I wanted that thing. It's Star Destroyers and Lego. That's, that is kryptonite for me. So here I was thinking, okay, I'll just wait until midnight. I'm up at midnight anyway, so it wasn't an extra journey for me to do that. I
feel sorry for the people who are normal people.
Yeah,
going to bed at 10, 9,
exactly,
and staying up. I feel really sorry for those people.
Yep.
Anyway,
and
continue.
Normally in the past, Lego's site may get slow. You go to put stuff in your bag. Lego, you go to, do battle with the website a little bit. And then you go and you try to cash out, and that sometimes goes really slow. And eventually the transaction goes through. You get your email. You go, oh, okay, great. I've secured my sets. I'm a happy guy.
Yeah.
I can go to bed now or whatever.
You do.
Last night, no, it wasn't that. It was, you can't, you go to get into the website and it puts you in queue and it counts down from 15, 14, 13, 12. And once it gets to 0, it resets to 15. And then it does that for a few minutes. So you're seeing the screen a lot. And then you either get in or you get a 505 error or something to that effect. Not a 404, but website down and script. And what? Okay. So anyhow, finally, even if you do get through, you can't put anything in your bag. Nothing's working. So you can't put the Star Destroyer in. You can't put the new sets that came out yesterday in your bag. You can put a $799 at in your bag. Like that was the part that was I was playing around, and I'm like, it'll let me put other sets in, but it won't let me put in these sets because obviously they're getting hammered.
Yeah.
And then this website will just crash. And then you got to go through that whole process all over again. All over again. I did it about 4 times last night, and I was just like, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's almost 1. I'm out of here. So I woke up at 7 this morning, and I just thought, oh yeah, I should probably just go in and nab everything before the day starts, because obviously Lego's having problems.
Yeah.
I go in, and the Star Destroyer is sold out. And I'm just like, damn. But I ordered the 2 sets, the diorama sets, Endor and the Emperor's
Nice.
throne room.
So it wasn't a complete
I got my
waste.
bonus. Oh no, because I would have bought those sets anyway. The bonus was getting the Death Star mini build, Death Star 2. Those things don't come along every day. They look good. They're fun. I'll probably just put it in a box on my shelf behind me. I don't really care one way or another. It's just an extra bonus thing. But it wasn't a complete disaster. But it made for a lot of complaints on Twitter. I decided to put my 2 cents in terms of agreement. But that was about it, because I don't really want Twitter to be this predominantly negative space for me. I don't want to mess with Carboy's algorithm too much. So I just had a thought tonight. I'll just scoot by my Walmart close to me and take a look to see, because I did some research at other retailers online, and this set is not available anywhere but lego.com and Walmart.
Right.
So I decided to go to Walmart and take a look, and there's no whiff of it anywhere.
Right.
There's no whiff of any of these sets. They still haven't recovered from Christmas.
Right.
So I'm just like, wow, this is a toy. And the part that really frustrates me is that where this is not getting fun anymore is if you go into the YouTube space and you notice all the people who used to build for fun are now building either to be a completionist collector, or you want to be in that space and not financially advising people, but holy crap, pretty much financially advising people what sets you predict are going to be scarce, what sets you predict are going to go up in price, what sets, like, it's speculation 101. And don't take my word for it. And if I'm wrong, I can't control it, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, it's a toy, guys. Let's treat it like a toy.
Yeah.
I just think that when it started not being fun last year with the Muppets.
Yeah.
I thought for sure the Muppets would be a line that would be lucky if it sold well. It's going to be oddballs, completionist collectors, and nerds like me from the 70s and early 80s that are going to be buying these minifigures. Well, you couldn't get your, like, I walked into our local Toys R Us, and there's literally a dude, a big sweaty fat dude with like hot dog fingers, pawing at every bag. He's got about 4 completely opened boxes.
Wow.
Of Muppets guys on the shelf. He's ravaged them all, and he's going through and picking what he wants or what he's speculating. There's your Star Destroyer, Super Star Destroyer. And like, I'm like, how is this fun? You know, I get it if there's a kid in there really after a guy and trying to feel through the bags. I do understand scenarios where that is fun, but why aren't stores putting this stuff behind a counter and just saying, if you want a bag, it's $5. Here you go. Instead of allowing people to do this thing, like Lego are talking about getting paper bags or some other type of material anyway, maybe putting the minifigures in boxes or something like that, like a miniature box where they can't be felt. And the community's freaking out because they just want to be efficient and get all the good characters ahead of everybody else so that they can get 40 or 50 of them and sell them on Bricklink whenever they choose to, when they get high enough in value.
Yep.
It's like the hockey card market in the 80s and 90s. Everybody was so excited about hockey cards. Everybody was going on and on about how valuable this rookie card is and how amazing this rookie card is. When the reality was, the hockey card companies were making millions of these things because the demand was so high and people were lying to themselves about their value. And then when the market collapsed, then there was nothing. You couldn't move the cards when it was alive and well, so it collapsed and they're still worthless. Because there's so much made. It's like the comics, right? When they try to tell you something's rare and then they make 40 billion, there's no accountability for what the limit is on some of these things. And then you find out that that's actually worthless because it got printed so much and distributed so widely that it has no value. You thought it had value because it was this special issue, or as a fan, you talked about it with your friends. That makes that issue special to you. So collect it for that.
Yep.
Don't collect it for the idea that you're going to get rich later. Odds are you're going to die and your family's just going to sell the stuff at a garage sale or get 1-800-JUNK to come in and pick it up and get it out of here. It's just plastic crap to them.
Yep.
So I know that's dire and normally we're all jokes and everything, but it is a good message in the sense of collect stuff that makes you happy. If Star Wars makes you happy, watch it. If it doesn't, don't watch it. It's that simple. I don't understand why this is so difficult for the community, why they need to go out there and troll people nonstop about, everything. How can you be this age and still like Star Wars and it's a kid's thing? And other guys going, oh no, they made this massive flaw in writing and blah, 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 blah. Like I've seen some jokes about the re-release of Return of the Jedi this week in the theaters about people doing modern day reviews for Return of the Jedi. And they're like, it's lazy writing when this happened. And we don't know why this happened. And all the terms that you heard during Mando analysis and everything. And it's like, yeah, episode, yeah.
Question for you. If Star Wars were to come out now, I don't think it would be even half as popular as
I agree.
When it came out.
I would agree. I think it was very pivotal that it came out when it did. As the world was looking for blockbusters, they were getting tastes of them in Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There was a new type of movie director in Steven Spielberg and his buddy George Lucas, and all this little rat pack of movie directors that were coming up at the time. And they had promise and they had buzz, and their movies were crowd pleasers and operatic and all this kind of stuff that was just not seen. And at that time, sci-fi was something that was being pursued very heavily because it got identified in a lot of the movie houses as being the next big thing. So they were all looking for it. That's why you see all that sci-fi that tried and didn't work. You had Star Trek trying to be on the big screen. There was a lot of stuff that was being attempted at that time and continued to be attempted afterwards. So I just think that now we're far too cynical.
Oh, 100%.
I think like the stuff that we get now, even in Star Wars, is fantastic. Like there's that episode of Mandalorian that was kind of weak, right? With Jack Black and Lizzo and all that.
Speak for yourself.
But some people love it, and I'm okay with that. It didn't swing for me. That's okay. There were parts of it that did, but there was parts of that world that were awesome. There was parts of Coruscant that they showed at the beginning of episode 8.
Yeah.
Or the final chapter. That was just like, that was better than Blade Runner at some points. That was pure cyberpunk. That was man, there's some crazy stuff going on in that franchise alone, let alone the other great stuff that's happening out there.
Yep.
But that was a magical time. And, we got Blade Runner in 84.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first idea that sequels got bigger and better. Star Wars started that, really. And then you got Indiana Jones that did it and whatnot. And this is where movies had never gone before. The only thing that we had seen serialized in the sense of a cinematic thing was James Bond.
Yep. That was the closest thing. And even in TV.
Yeah, and that was
right?
switching. The actors were switching.
Yep.
So I really think that was.
But even then, that's different, right? James Bond, they're not sequels, right?
No, they're other stories with the characters.
Until
each story
the
is
Daniel Craig ones, they weren't really serial in a sense.
No, but that was the closest comparison that you could have at the time. And then that
was more of just whatever.
Yeah. You have to couple it as well with the marketing that was going on, right? Like the fact that Star Wars was on everything as a kid. You had Star Wars lunchboxes, Star Wars watches, Star Wars pajamas, Star Wars sheets. Star Wars
literally what kicked off this mega blockbuster. Not just the blockbuster, but the mega blockbuster where it invaded and took over pop culture.
Exactly. And the action figures and everything.
Right? Like, look at Spaceballs. That was the big joke about that.
Yep. But there was truth in that joke. That's what made that joke funny.
That's exactly it, right? And that's why, like, say what you want about George Lucas. That man did brilliant things with that franchise. The way that he envisioned what just one movie could make and what one movie could do. And what movie is possible? Where, like, right? Like the fact that the companies just willingly gave him the rights to make his own deals for merch and toys and whatever.
Yeah, like honestly, there would be a really compelling and interesting study that could be done. I'm sure it has been done. But there should be something that's looked at in the sense that, was it moral to market to kids like that? Was it moral to almost manipulate kids? Because that's what these companies did, right? Because this started off a whole wave of G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man, things like that were being written as shows, but written off of the toys, or the toys they were commercials. You watch that show, you saw a character. In He-Man, there's some shows that don't even really make too much sense other than a few ground rules of what's making the episode.
Well,
it was like a toy marketing half hour.
It was. It literally 100% was. A great view into this is watching that Netflix documentary, The Toys That Made Us, right? The He-Man episode, in my opinion, is the funniest one because you're literally like that. They literally tell you that that's what He-Man was. It was a big ass commercial.
Yep. And it's eye opening, right? Because like, you think about it, like Transformers and G.I. Joe were serving in that same capacity. You know, G.I. Joe, a revived thing that started out as like 8 action figures and then ballooned into like this empire that's still going today, but like peaked around 87, 88 and kept on going all the way through the 90s at a rapid pace. Like
when I was G.I. Joe was around long enough that both myself and Juan, my brother, were able to partake in the fandom of G.I. Joe and Transformers. You know?
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's just crazy when you see it all in that context and you go, oh, that was off the backs of kids, because now we get mad at McDonald's for selling kids sugar and doing it with a toy.
Yeah.
Where there's rules and regulations about what you can and can't advertise on a Saturday morning. But back then, man, the parents were just like, oh boy, I got a hangover. The kids are up at 6 a.m. Go watch cartoons. That's your babysitter. I know we
Yep.
do that with the internet today.
We do that
our
with
kids.
we do
Here's
that
the
with
iPad.
iPads and stuff. Exactly, right? Like
Yeah.
the amount of times, like the amount of it's funny because like the amount of my friends that post basically saying thank God for screens, right?
Yeah. It's nuts. It is nuts. And there's questions to be asked. I don't know if the rules or whatever conclusions you get to, would people follow them? Because I also remember it being the targeted person, and looking at it going, man, I wouldn't have traded anything for that. That was a great experience as a kid to grow up and have those half-hour advertisements and to get excited about what's next. But
Yeah.
that's the funny thing about it all is being probably the portion of the target abuse market. You're just like, yeah, it was good though. It was good times.
Yeah. Agreed.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, today is May 1st. We are gearing up to May 4th, big Star Wars Day. Most likely we're going to be doing our Mandalorian episode and releasing it on the 4th. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just schedules are a little crazy. We'll keep everyone up to date. Follow our socials at It's Canon Podcast. You'll get all the updates there. So today's episode, obviously being the episode closest to May the 4th, I kind of want to focus on Star Wars, and there's a couple other minor stuff that I want to talk about, particularly one thing.
Sure.
But having said that, no, it really sucks. But like in terms of your story and you know the stuff with Lego, and I concur 100% with you, right? Like it's so important that you do you. Right, I know that's so easily said compared to it being done. Easier said than done. But here's the thing, right? Like comic books and me is a perfect example, right? Like the amount of money that I used to spend on comics, and I just like had those holy grails and those big comics that I always wanted, and all that fun stuff. And you know, people would always ask, like, why are you spending so much money? It's like it just makes me happy. This is something that I want. It's something that I remember as a child, remember as a kid, or you know, I love Batman or whatever, and it was always there for me. So right, like I never collected any of this in anticipation of selling anything. That was never ever a consideration of mine, right? So going back to your point, right, like do you collect what you want, buy what you want, but you have to keep it in the back of your mind, right? If it becomes, I don't want to say an obsession, but if in the process of you getting it, there's stuff that happens, then by God, right?
There's no point getting high blood pressure over it.
Yeah,
you know?
We have other stuff to get high blood pressure over.
Exactly. At the end of the day, for me, I'm like, it's to be fun. It's fun to be had. Don't speculate on it.
Yep.
It's a toy.
So I don't know how recent this is. Ooh, that sounded beautiful.
Dinner.
Oof. So Taika Waititi.
Oof.
I'm so nervous of this. I am so nervous of what he's going to do with Star Wars. But apparently, according to a lot of his sources, he is, and I'm using air quotes for those of you listening to the podcast version, but why are you listening to the podcast version? You should be watching on YouTube or live each and every single week.
Like Alex is?
Like Alex is. Thank you, Alex. He is very excited about the project, which is set to begin filming in 2024. Oh man,
I'll believe it when I see it.
Here's the thing: with everything Star Wars, everything Disney, but especially Star Wars, until there's a trailer, I won't believe it.
Yeah, I agree. Until I read that it's in production.
Even then, it can get canceled.
Even then,
it can get canceled.
Lord Miller solo. It could change flavors right in the middle. You're getting chocolate, Nope, we lied. Ron Howard made you vanilla.
It was fine. Come on.
It was still a good movie. I'm okay with it. I'm just saying. I'm curious
Hey,
to know what
if
the Lord Miller and Star
Solo
Wars would be.
is the reason why his daughter is now directing probably some of the best episodes of the other shows, then I'm fine with Solo existing.
Oh, Solo's great. I have no issue with it whatsoever. My only observation is it's a movie that didn't need to be there, but that's okay too. More Star Wars is better.
Hey,
So
whoa, Rogue One didn't need to be there.
no, but that made it better. I don't think Solo made much better.
Well, but it's
really,
a risk. It could have made it better. It didn't. We were lucky that Rogue One was as good as it was.
Yes, we were very lucky about Rogue One, but I really the one thing that's a showstopper for me that completely takes it out of it, aside from Alden Ehrenreich or whatever Aldenreich is portraying Harrison Ford. I get it. That's always going to be a bit of a disconnect having a different actor do that. But the one thing that in that movie in particular, spoilers, it's old, go watch it. Is when he's talking Wookiee to Chewie.
Yeah.
In that pit. I'm like, oh, this is just a little bit beyond the pale for believability and how they're doing it. But I really am okay with it. I'm not letting it stop me from enjoying the Han and Lando story, the Kieran Voss, everything like that. That was all fun. I loved Woody Harrelson's character in it. I did enjoy, the Mud Troopers and everything like that. There was a lot of stuff that was great in it, and it was just a fun Star Wars action movie, much like Rogue One was. But Rogue One had an element of insanity to it in such a interesting way, right? We had not only did we get Cassian Andor and the whole build up to that with the Death Star, but we also got that kick-ass scene of Darth Vader at the end. So there's a lot to love about that stuff, and you are right. It was just little things like that kicked me and went, oh, okay. But I still watch it from time to time, and I'm like, I get more and more enjoyment out of it the more I watch it.
You know what's funny? The only time I rewatch Solo is
when?
That's a question you're supposed to say when, Boris, so then I can answer you.
That's why I'm saying
that's
when.
the banter that we need on these episodes.
I know.
What's going on? We are tired today. We're both out of it today.
When is that?
Let's do this again. Let's rewind. Phil, do you know the only other times that I've ever watched Solo has been
when, Boris?
Christmas and Easter, when Showcase shows all the Star Wars movie for like 2 weeks.
Yep, that's the channel I'm always on. I don't. Every time I see Solo, I'm like, I don't hate this movie. It was okay.
What do you like more, Solo or Obi-Wan?
I didn't hate Obi-Wan either.
But you talk like you do.
There were elements of Obi-Wan that I thought could have been better. But overall, I'm glad it exists. It again falls into that category.
There's a lot of stuff from Obi-Wan that I just did not like, that felt shoehorned, right? Things that technically never, ever happened, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think with Obi-Wan, my personal belief is that it did a lot more for Star Wars for me because it took so much from Fallen Order.
Yeah.
And that was unprecedented in my books. So I really enjoyed the Palace Inquisitoris and everything like that. Like all that stuff was just gold that nerd me was eating up. And it didn't matter that it had the disappointment berries on the side in certain areas and whatnot. I did enjoy. I didn't get caught up with the whole hating the Revan girl or whatever, Riva. I didn't get onto that train. I thought she did all right. I didn't get on the train of hating the volume like a lot of people did. Yeah, it's got its limitations, and this show kind of showed it. It's there. That's okay though. You know, you tried it and it didn't work, and you learn from that. So again, another Star Wars story I'm glad exists. Do I need a season 2? Not really. But hey.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know we kind of touched on this last week, but let's talk about this a little more. And that is the Disney, as you know, as a company, isn't necessarily doing the greatest. They're cutting people by the thousands. We're looking at also very important cutbacks, like special effects and things like that. Like we were talking about, the actor who plays Boba Fett, my computer just froze, but luckily here I have the quote, and I think there is a few changes going on. We also come under the big umbrella known as Disney now too. So it's one of the last few conversations we had in LA. The conversation started like, oh look, we're having a few changes. We're having a few cutbacks. So
yes,
the
Tamara
discussion
Morris.
the discussion I want to have, it really revolves around, does this worry you as a fan, right? One of the biggest criticisms of the MCU right now is their special effects. Especially with these shows, they're already on quite the budget. So are you a little nervous, especially when storytelling and scripts might not be the strongest? How do you feel like as a Star Wars fan knowing that this is going on?
Well, Tamara in that quote, not necessarily in that quote, but some of the other stuff that he said at the Comic-Con, like, first of all, he was on mic, and I think there's a sense of humor to some of what he was saying, and that's what garnered a lot of people's concern, because he said that he was waiting around his phone, waiting for a call to come in on The Mandalorian, and that call never came, and he was mockingly upset about that. And I think he blames that as part of this cut, right, that they got informed about.
And he did say some tongue-in-cheek, right? Like, there's a quote here.
Yes.
And when you hear that the other end of the line, it's no good trying to negotiate any more money. That's for sure. So we'll see what happens, right? So, again, a lot of tongue-in-cheek, but at the end of the day, we know cuts are happening. So I think it's fair to have this conversation regardless.
I don't think it's going to affect Star Wars that much anyway. I think they're already having such difficulty getting movies off the ground that they know that the shows are the lifeblood. I think that you saw a lot of cutbacks in Mando season 3, and maybe people are overreacting to that as well, or reacting to it in how much baby Grogu was flipping about versus in his pram. Things like that. I don't know what's easier or what's cheaper, though. That could be anybody on the cat, or anybody in production could correct me on that. But I just felt like there was writing cutbacks or writing sacrifices and things like that are attributed to this in some circles. I don't generally worry about it too much. Like the slap about everybody freaking out about She-Hulk's special effects. I'll be honest, I have a tough time seeing how something's cheesy until I get a side by side, and then I go, oh yeah, number 2 is better.
Yeah.
But I don't naked eye spot it and go, oh, this is really bad, unless it's really bad. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be B-level movie special effect bad for me to go, oh, I just look at a lot of the stuff that Star Wars does where they go, okay, we're going to stop animate this. I see that more as an homage to the original trilogy films than I do as them trying to pocket a few dollars out of the CGI type thing. I just see it, like, oh, Phil Tippett was on set that day, or someone who knows Phil Tippett's ways or studied under him or something like that. That's kind of cool. I hope Phil sees this and goes, oh yeah, good job on that one, guys.
You're touching your mic base. I can hear when you're touching it, FYI.
I'm not touching anything. It's on
really?
It's on a boom arm.
Oh,
yeah.
Weird. Oh, am I touching? Oh no, I'm not touching it. I'm just hearing like
I hear it too.
you hear it too.
Yeah, I do, and I thought it was you playing
No, I
around
thought
with
it was you.
adjusting your mic. No, who's touching their mic? That's me touching
the
my
secret
mic.
third person.
Yeah, I don't know where that.
Because I'm far from this.
It's a
so.
spring echo. It's a spring echo that I hear. It's almost like a mic arm with the spring going stretching.
No. Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Beta test. Hey, see, I hear thump thump.
No, that was me there.
Yeah.
Anyways, whatever. Oh, this episode is beautiful. No, so I do agree with you, right? I do agree with you overall. I think that at the end of the day, though, it does put a little more, and this is the point I was trying to make, that I think that there's going to be more onus and, I guess, more checks, more pressure on the writers to make sure that things work out, so that anything outside of the writing, people don't really notice, right?
Yeah. Well, I would like them to focus money-wise on the stories being,
Of course,
better written and better produced. That's where all the effort should be. Everything else follows the story. If you tell me that, there's a budget cut or a setback on CGI, you're going to have to do more practical effects or use a cloak to disguise something instead of using a highly detailed CGI monster, they're going to cover it up partially and do this and do that. I'm A-okay with that.
Yeah.
It's more to the mystique, right? Like, that's the whole Lucasfilm is based off of glass paintings and mirror images and trickery.
Yeah.
So
100%. Though that's exactly it, right? The other thing that I can see them doing is like being a little more creative. Like, remember how awesome Battlestar Galactica looked for that shitty budget it had?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like using more camera effects and stuff like that too. Like divert your attention from certain things.
Yeah, and that was because a lot of the stuff, what was it, Dykstra and whatnot, who they ejected from Star Wars after the first film, went straight to Battlestar Galactica and started shooting over there with all of his technology that he formed on Star Wars. He brought it to TV.
Yep.
But yeah, he was master of it, right? That's why it's a Dykstra cam. And it's and other members of the crew too, if they left Star Wars or they left Lucasfilm, they somehow magically showed up at Battlestar Galactica's door.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing wrong with that, man. It was a good time. Like, as having all these IPs competing for our eyeballs at that time to be the next big sci-fi thing on TV.
Exactly.
Right? Trying to compete with Star Trek, the legacy of Star Trek.
Exactly. Legacy at that point. All right, so let's jump to video games. A conversation that I was having in another podcast I kind of wanted to have with you. And that's kind of like, holy shit, there are huge games this year. So, we're going to talk about Star Wars Survivor in a little bit. Tranquilo, everyone. We're going to be talking about that. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. That's April 28th. All right, Dead Island as well came out April 28th. But looking forward, we have The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom coming out May 12th. Street Fighter 6 coming June 2nd. Diablo 4 coming June 6th. Final Fantasy 16 coming June 22nd. We have Starfield September 6th. Skull and Bones, that's that pirate game that's God knows it's being delayed left, right, and center. That's just a little taste of all of the games that are coming out. Like this year, Phil, this is like the one year where like, is Legend of Zelda not going to win Game of the Year? I think it will, but right, like there's a lot of good games coming out.
There really is. It's Zelda's gonna have a lock on it to a degree, but yeah, the Final Fantasy one for PlayStation 5, like that looks just incredible. Starfield, it's going to be a mess, but everyone's going to love it.
Everyone's going to buy it and then be angry with it, or
just get it on Game Pass, maybe.
Right.
Like this is the thing. Like this week, they're freaking out because what is it that game that came out, the Hi-Fi Rush? Apparently, somebody said that it didn't do financially as well as they wanted it to. Now, the company who made it, it's the company who made Jet Set Radio, came out and they said, no, we're fine. Like Microsoft were absolutely, loving the fact that it did so well as far as they were concerned because it got downloaded a
it's
ton
a
off of Game
niche.
Pass.
It's a super
Well,
niche game.
it's a niche thing, but it didn't make as much money as it could have if it wasn't on Game Pass. If people went out and bought it, is the point of whoever made the comment. It's wrong to attribute that to a company's bottom line.
But Phil,
that's an expectation that he's generating, right?
But that's the big debate about Game Pass, right? What happens to earnings?
Yep, and that's exactly it. Forza Horizon 5 is a fantastic example. Day and date game on there. I own a physical copy just because I don't trust Microsoft.
Yeah.
And I don't trust their network services, and I like playing the game when I want to play it. But at the time, I just had the deal that I'm going to get off of Game Pass. I'm going to continue to maintain my Game Pass to play the game. And I'm going to buy extra content for that game on the idea that I have access to it on Game Pass. Like they sold a specific discount of add-on content based off of the idea that you would maintain your subscription to Game Pass. So you got a discounted rate. So it's an interesting model that they're playing with here, and they could be doing the same thing with Starfield. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of untilled land.
Yeah,
so
for sure. For sure. Sorry, gotta refocus the camera.
So there's a lot of them good games coming out.
Yeah, a lot of good games
and
coming
Jedi
out.
Survivor. Like, I know we're not talking about it, but that could be a contender for Game of the Year, too. And
I was literally going to jump to that, right? Like, I know a lot of people are having a lot of issues with Jedi Survivor. So let's talk about Jedi Survivor. So some of it's getting a lot of mixed reviews, right? Anyone who has had a flawless experience with it is having a shitloads, boats full of shit of fun. But then there's other people who are, in a boat full of shit up Shit's Creek, not having a good time with this game. What's interesting is I was talking with someone over the weekend, and what they were saying is they have it on PS5 and they have it digitally, so they haven't had an issue. And that actually made me laugh because it's like, okay, number one, this game, when you buy it, you basically have to download the entire game, even if you have the physical copy.
Yeah, there's not I don't know that there's nothing on the disc, but you have to do the full digital download, 150 gigabytes, basically.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of funny. But the first game was like that, right? The first game was kind of like that. It was a huge ass mofo of a game. Now, so with that said, he said he wasn't really having too many issues with it, right? But I do know that a lot of people are having a lot of issues. So before we talk about Jedi Survivor itself, I want to kind of take this tangent and say, is there an issue with AAA games and their releases?
Yes, I think that Cyberpunk 2077 showed us that. I think Bethesda and almost anything that they release show us that. Which I know it's a horse that I continue to beat.
But how many times have you been burned, right?
Yeah, and that's where I'm speaking from is my wallet. It is a problem. Redfall is going to be a problem this
Redfall,
week.
Oh my God, that thing is going to be a mess. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, we had it with Gotham Knights. We had it with, almost everything that's getting the AAA release right now is they're flooded with complaints about FPS performance. Last of Us PC did not work.
To me, that one, it just that one just hurts my soul.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? Like with Jedi Survivor, the issue is they identified specifically Windows 11 users that are using brand new state-of-the-art video cards, et cetera, that weren't provisioned properly for in their builds. Okay, so they had a blind spot in their stuff, and they own it. Like they're just like, yeah, oh crap, we've become aware of this and we're trying to fix it, but it's going to take a little bit. Tomorrow, I think the first patch rolls out, and that's for everybody. There are issues on the PS5. I'm in your friend's boat, no problems at all, but I am on as many frames as per second possible. I'm not on performance mode. I'm on enjoyment mode. Like I'm on playability mode, whatever that is. I'm not on graphic. Give me all the reflections and the ray tracing and all that kind of stuff.
That's a word I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah, I know, right? So I have all that stuff turned down. I haven't played with it until that patch drops. Maybe I'll try it and see what 30 FPS with ray tracing and everything is like in the full 4K. But for now, I'm just motoring along through the game, done my things, no spoilers, nothing like that, people. And everything's fine on that front. I don't know the Xbox Series X and S owners are having a similarly great experience. I've seen more complaints about Xbox and its performance versions. And I will say that as general, I've spent a lot of time in the Xbox ecosystem. I'm now returning into the PS5 ecosystem a lot more consistently. And I can say after my exposure in Xbox land, stuff is sharper and different. It's not better. I find that it's jumpier. The frame rates aren't as good and the load times can be terrible. It's not as fast as the PS5. The PS5 there's a texture to the graphics on my screen where I don't know. I think it's because the PS5 fools my monitor into being in HDR, like a certified HDR pop-up box mode on every single content that I watch, like not only movies and shows, but video games too. On the Xbox, I only go into HDR mode on video games that have HDR support. And I don't know exactly why that is, but there's a differentiator with my monitor. I think it's my problem, not Xbox's or anything. But I do find that maybe that affects my interpretation of the graphics and whatnot, is the dark fidelity and the shades, and you know what I mean? Like all that contrasty stuff. So maybe that's it, but I just find that the Xbox is more prone to crashing. I find the Xbox, like there's a lot of other challenges within the Xbox world that simply are not as prevalent. I'm not going to say my PS5 has never crashed, because it has. Any video game system will do that. But yeah, I feel bad for everybody, especially on the PC end of things, that are really running the bleeding edge, that are getting caught up. But it's running great on the PS5.
Yeah, that seems to kind of be the overall assessment that I'm seeing, where people in Xbox land aren't having the best experience. People who are on physical aren't having the best experience. And I'm like, wait, that doesn't really matter. But I digress. So overall, how are you enjoying the game? I haven't picked up my copy yet. I was so busy this weekend that I'm like, okay, I don't have time. Like I'm gonna buy. If I bought it, but I haven't picked it up, because I know that when I do pick it up, I'm going to be playing it until it's over. And right now I just don't have the time to do that. I just don't.
I'd say so far I've put in a good session Saturday night until about 3 a.m.
Wow.
But this was only because I made a fatal mistake. Thursday night I bought the game. Thursday night I turned off my Xbox or my PlayStation 5, so the automatic download didn't happen in the background. I didn't have it in the rest mode.
That's ultimate gamer fail. That's like not charging your controller before bed.
I know, and the thing is I had to work all day Friday, so I didn't do the download, and then I did the download Friday night, and that took a long time because I had to wait until everything was done in my household, that nobody was streaming or anything, because I knew that this thing was going to be a mega bitch. So here it was, just trucking in for hours and hours, and it kept on giving me that famous PlayStation update. Only 3 hours left, and then only 4 hours left, and you're like, no, why did you go backwards? And then it's like, oh, 2 hours left. And
Reminds
you're
me
like,
of
whoa.
Remember like Windows 98
Yes.
and the
But
internet
I
when
figured
Windows
out-
98 came out? Like that's what all of this reminds me of.
But that I figured out was all because of, like, this is the computer geek that I am. That was all because individual file sizes. If there was a lot of file names, it CRC checked them all, and it had to do that. But if there were one big cab file, it just went largely kept on the progression course or the copy course, and your copy wasn't going to take 2.5 months to complete. It was going to be like, oh, you're copying the contents of this hard drive. Oh, when you get to this folder and there's this picture, this picture, this picture, this picture, this picture times 1,000, that's going to take forever because it's CRC checking it all. So I figure something like that is happening with these games, where it's like if there's a lot of little itty bitty texture files and whatnot, they're going to go slow over that transfer because that has to be verified.
And it's like, because there's so many, it's hard for it to recalculate because it recalculates the time left after every file.
After
so if you're
real
constantly
time.
Hitting that, it's like, all right, fuck you. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
This is a big file. It's going to take a lot longer now. Fuck you more.
Yeah, exactly. So I get that it's dynamic and whatnot, but that one did take us a bloody long time. So I was Friday night. I was just like, okay, I'm totally in the mood of doing other stuff. So I didn't really get any exposure to the game. So Saturday night actually, I did play it Friday night for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it was a late night Friday, but just the intro stuff, the warm and fuzzy stuff. And then Saturday night I watched the game, the TFC game, did a little bit of car racing.
I like how you had to actually like qualify that it was a TFC game and not the Leafs game.
I had that on the background
I know,
too, but I was mostly watching the TFC.
Same here.
And what ended up happening was the Xbox went on with a friend, and we were doing our nightly go around and antagonize people on the internet. And turns out new terms of service were bannable now. So grumpy old men driving isn't really a great experience potentially, but we have a deal now. Whoever gets banned first has to buy the other guy a bottle of booze. So
wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's a funny terms of service. So here we are doing that, and it naturally his Xbox crashes like 3 times, and I'm just like, I'm done. And then I fired up Survivor, and I was hooked until about 3 a.m. on Saturday. Sunday was this is right off, and then last night, that's what I did while waiting for the Lego window to open. Was played Jedi Survivor and just cleaned through the first big area of the first planet you get to. So yeah, it's the maps are so much better done than in the first game. Oh,
you
and
understand
you can fast travel.
You don't need my help. Not yet.
No, you can understand them. No, you can understand them all the time now.
Nice.
And yeah, it's just like the level design is improved. They're bigger, but they're better. It's fun exploring now because you're not worried about getting lost as much. It still could get lost. I've just gotten to my first kind of large city in the game, and I'm curious to adventure more, but I accidentally like triggered the storyline, and I'm like, way neck deep in that.
Let me keep doing what I gotta do.
Exactly. So I think there's so much to explore in this game, even after it's done, that's going to be worthwhile revisiting. And you can already tell that as your character advances and gets more powers, just like in the first game, you're going to be able to revisit mundane levels early in the game and get whole new aspects to them because you're going to be able to unlock new areas or do certain things. So a lot of fun dynamics overall. I gotta say, they really hit this one out of the park. I don't know if it's game of the year material, but it's going to be up there in a discussion, I think, once all the dust settles.
So far, you're liking it more than for the first one?
Fallen Order. Yeah. Yeah, I'm comfortable with the characters. I'm curious to know the story that they tell. Curious to know the length of the story that they tell, because I see a lot of people who
if this one has a nonchalant ending like the first one, I'm going to rage quit Star Wars games.
Yeah, I know, right? We had a problem with that, but
that bothered me so much. Like, it bothered me a lot more than it should have bothered me.
But at the end of the day, it was a great experience to be playing a game like that by EA that was good and didn't try to get my money every time a crate showed up. Like, you could open boxes and it not come out of your wallet. So I still get a novelty out of that when the little BD1 droid goes and opens the same boxes. And I'm like, oh no, $8.99. No. Okay, great. So
yeah.
It's a refreshing thing. I feel bad for Respawn and the flack that they're taking this week, but as you say, people got to be tranquilo and just kind of, like, it'll get fixed. This too shall pass. We're all going to be okay, guys. Like, everybody's going to be fine.
I feel like everyone is on edge for everything right now.
Yeah, like
the only
if you watch the weekly roundups, they're like, the internet is on fire over Jedi Survivor. And I'm like, really? Everybody that I know on console is going, that is a pretty good game.
That's hilarious. Let's not even get started at PC. The superior PCers, the superior PC gamers, and the issues that they're having. And I just love the fact that the last two major releases for PC games, Survivor and The Last of Us, have eaten dog shit. So kind of brings a certain joy to my life. But that
in a little way, yeah. Yeah. It's I recommend the game, people. It is a buy. You don't have to wait for a sale on that one. I think that it's worth your money.
Well, my nephew's just going to wait for me to finish the game.
True. My review, the review that I provided so far is a review in progress. It's not a review of the full game. It might have a dog shit ending. Don't know.
I swear to God, if it does. Oh, if it does, just wait until the next episode here. All right, Phil, again, we are likely going to be doing our Mandalorian Season 3 recap this week. It will be most likely be released on May the 4th, because why the heck not? So, with that said, I think this is a perfect time to let our listeners know how they can reach us and where they can find us. As if they haven't already found us. But
yeah, if you want to write in a complaint about our podcast, and in this episode in particular, because we've just been so on point in this one, you can track us down at
that I'm still queuing up the music.
It's you can track us down on our website at www.itscanonpodcast.com. I'm waiting for the music to play me out. It's kind of like reading your Oscar speech. There we go.
Oh my God.
You can track us down on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at It's Canon Podcast. You can email us at show@itscanonpodcast.com. Send in your complaints about the music missing. You can subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere where you get podcasts, you're going to find us. But you're also going to find us on patreon.com/SNME radio, where Boris this week handled the episode. So you want to go listen to him and the rest of the guys talking about wrestling, that's the place to be. And thanks so much for finding us, listening to us. Tell your friends. And if you like what you hear so far and what you see on the YouTube, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe, click on that subscribe button too, because then you're going to get alerted to when we drop all these crazy episodes like May the 4th. Who knows? May the 4th. Maybe next week. We don't know. It's chaos.
Maybe it might happen on Revenge of the 5th. We'll see. Phil, thank you so much. But more importantly, thank you to each and every single one of our listeners. Obviously, it means so much. I know oh my God, I can't even speak anymore. You know, he's Phil. I'm Boris. We're done. That's it.
Yes. Thank you for listening, everybody. Have a good night.